I seen a sphinx breathing, standing next to heathens, devoured by seething locusts, ejected from the zenith. The body parts of God, Mother Earth received a penis, like Zeus to Venus, Osiris to Isis. When wired to polarities, you couldn't splice this. Original right knowledge, try to rewrite this. You're forced to speak in tongues, far away your heritage from. Begin to absorb anything above and under the sun.
This video was inspired by a conversation I had with a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses that came to my door yesterday. It was an older lady and a young dude came at my door, with the usual Jehovah's Witness thing, and the conversation at some point turned to spirituality versus the Bible, versus religion, particularly African spirituality versus religion. So they immediately went to the usual Christian propaganda, about the Egyptians being idol worshippers and pagans and evil and all this and that. And it's not the first time I've heard it, probably won't be the last. It wasn't surprising, because knowledge of Kemet or ancient Egypt, whatever you want to call it, it isn't all that common, but it's something especially disturbing when you see black people denouncing it, because it's their spirituality. It's in tune with how they naturally think. So when they denounce it, they don't even realize that they're attacking themselves in favor of this European mythological story that they've been given about Jesus. It's like a when you see a black person falling for this, it's like a painful ignorance. It's not like normal. It's like a painful ignorance to see somebody like that. But this video is basically about a lot of the misconceptions and misperceptions people have about Kemetic myth and Kemetic spirituality. Because the Bible, when you're dealing with the Bible and religion, you are taught to take the Bible literally. So you read these stories literally. When the Bible says this, it literally means that's what happened. So when people come to it and they are on this westernized, Christianized mode of thought, they try to do the same thing when they see Kemetic tales and they see Kemetic depictions in art. But you can't. It doesn't work that way. With Kemetic, it's not literal. It's symbolic. To the Kemetians, God was incomprehensible. He could not be understood. So the only way that you could convey messages about God was to do it, to sort of anthropomorphize it into terms that you can understand, make aspects of God and treat them like people so that you can understand it on that level, because you could not understand it pure. The human mind cannot conceive of it. Kemetic gods a lot of times aren't even really gods as you would think of the term. They're more like as in, when I say that, they are not, I said to say they are not people walking around literally doing things. They are elements of nature. They represent forces. They are principalities. They were not just men with superpowers. Now the Kemetians did have anthropomorphic beings, physical and literal anthropomorphic beings of great power in their legends and in their stories, but most of the time when you see a myth, it is symbolic of a force of nature rather than an actual person. So I'm just going to give like a real basic idea and understanding of what Egyptian myths mean and what they're symbolizing when you see them. Now, we start off by saying that we're dealing with the ancient past, so nothing is known for certain, but pretty much all of what I'm going to say is agreed upon by most people who've studied it. So let me just start with a creation myth. We'll start at the beginning. One Egyptian myth goes like this. In the beginning there was a tomb. A tomb's name basically means totality. He was everything. He was all. And a tomb at the beginning created himself. So like in the Bible, Yahweh creates the heaven and the earth. Well, a tomb created a tomb. So a tomb is alone, and as he's standing there in his loneliness, for lack of a better way of putting it, he wants other things to come into existence. So this is what a tomb does. A tomb masturbates, and he produces two more gods, Shu and Tefnut. Now here your Europeanized and Christianized senses are probably going a little crazy when you hear that. Why is a god masturbating? Well, you have to understand that to the Egyptians, they revered life, and they knew that sex produced life, so they had no qualms about depicting their gods in a sexual fashion, because they didn't have the hang-ups that we have today. They knew that sex was a good thing. They was down with it. So you have to understand this is symbolic. So since Atum is all and he is the everything, he is producing life. The only way you can produce life is through sex. And since Atum is alone, that sex is masturbation. Sex by yourself. He's not literally masturbating. They're just expressing that he is the all and he is alone. And since Atum is everything, he is sometimes referred to as the great he-she, which means that he has male and female principles, which is the only way that you can produce life. It does not mean he's a literal hermaphrodite. It just means that he is capable of engendering life in and of himself. Therefore, he is both male and female, because union between a male and a female is what produces life. So automatically, right off the bat, you're getting a view of where the Egyptians or the KEMETIans were at spiritually. Now, Shu and Tefnut produced their own children, Nut and Geb. Now, Nut and Geb were constantly making love to one another, so their father, Shu, got in between them and raised Nut up and separated them. And that is what you see here. The man that you see lying on the ground is Geb. The man that you see in the middle is Shu. And the woman that you see with the unusually long arms and legs and stars in her body, that is Nut. Now, if you look at them pictorially, they seem kind of strange, but let me desymbolize them for you. This is what Nut, Shu, and Geb actually represent. Nut is the heavens, Geb is the earth, and that man in the middle, Shu, he represents the air. Shu is not literally a man standing on top of someone else and holding up a woman with extremely long arms and legs. He's not literally a person doing this. So you have to know the symbolic nature of these things to understand what you're looking at when you see them. It's like a lot of times they'll say, you get a Christian or somebody say something like, well, how can you believe in Horus? He's so stupid with the head of a bird. Well, Horus does not literally, I gotta keep going back to that word because that's how they think. Horus does not literally have the head of a bird. The bird, when you see an Egyptian god with the head of an animal, it does not mean that that's actually what they look like. That animal is representative of whatever force or principle that god presides over. So in Horus's case, Horus is a sky god. Birds are associated with the sky. So in order to represent what the principle of Horus, they give him the head of a bird. So a lot of times they ask, well, do you believe in Horus? I know Horus is real, because every time I look up in the sky in the middle of the day, I see the eye of Horus looking back down on me, because the eye of Horus is the sun. Every time you walk out of your house, you feel Shu brushing against your skin, because Shu is the air. These things exist. Now, whether you want to say they have their own individual consciousness, I mean, that's up to you. But these things exist. These are real forces and elements that they're talking about. These gods, quote unquote, exist as sure as the computer screen that you're looking at right now. So yes, I believe in Horus, and you do too.